Hey, are you ready to change up those sales conversations, make them sound less pitchy and more engaging, less pitchy and warmer, more natural, almost an organic conversation that you might have with your friends at the coffee shop? Today, I want to show you how curiosity is really your pathway to building organic conversations. We can talk about trust, but I really want you to know that trust is an organic thing. It's a feeling kind of a thing. And people only understand your value to them when you're truly curious about them. So what you want to do is to really understand, have you fully engaged your curiosity when you're talking with people? Have you fully been curious enough and set aside the worry about time, set aside the worry about what you should say? Are you really giving your all to the person in front of you who is your potential buyer? No script will win over your ability to sense a connection with others. So don't bring words into your life that you don't use now just because somebody wrote it on a script and says it works. I'm Marla Copel. I'm a sales skills expert. I've helped people make over 50 million in revenues. And I love showing people how to build organic conversations. That is the only way I've sold my whole life. And it's why I've always been able to put food on the table with commission-based earnings. So let's talk about curiosity, and let's talk about how that is going to build an organic relationship with your buyer that will ultimately result in a sale. Notice I said ultimately, I didn't say instantly. So we all use curiosity when we want to know what happened with our children's lives at school, or we want to really understand what's on the menu and why would I choose this versus the other one. So we live our lives with a lot of curiosity, but there seems to be something fascinating that happens when we meet a new person. Lots of times we just want to tell them all about ourselves, or especially if we're selling, we want to tell them all about what we have. And when you do it that way, you're hoping you fit into their life. Well, that is a very narrow opportunity for success. So when you use curiosity, you are opening up the whole field of success for you, because you're going to allow the buyer to give you the door in to what to speak about. So when a buyer approaches you, either in Messenger or at a trade show, or just casually, they overheard a conversation with you and your friend at the coffee shop, and they ask what you're doing, don't get excited. Don't get spam words out of your mouth. Go ahead and just say, well, what did you hear? What did you see? What have you been thinking about that prompted you to connect with me today, or to ask that question? You see, it is our job as curious salespeople to find the point of connection for the buyer. We don't want them to connect with us until we've connected with them. So we have to provide the first response, which is a question. It's an open-ended question. It's finding out what is in their mind, what's driving them, what's engaging them. So they heard something, they saw something, they're engaged. Now you go and figure that out with simple questions like, what did you hear? What did you see? What prompted you today? Secondly, once people start talking, you know how it is. You do the same thing, right? You never tell everybody everything. It's not like you have an intention to hold back, but it is like you have thought about, well, how much do I want them to know? Well, do you think your buyer's doing that also? I bet they are. So here's what you want to do after you've asked those initial questions and they've shared with you. You're going to say, well, tell me more. Or, wow, that sounds interesting. Tell me more. Because now is the time you'll get the story, the details. Now, as they start telling you what it is that they've thought of or tried and done before, or what's on their mind and why today is the reason for their urgency, you know just a little bit more about them, but you still don't know the whole story. So you go in and you ask the next question, which is, tell me what you've thought of or tried. Because you see, when you're talking to a buyer, you don't know what their frustrations are, what history do they come with. When I used to sell appliances, people had been to 5 other stores. My whole thought in the back of my mind is, why didn't they buy there? If they didn't buy at any of those stores, then I have an opportunity So I was even more curious. I didn't ask them why they didn't buy at those stores. I went back into the same litany again. I wanted their story. I wanted to know what they were looking for. And usually then I could come back through and I could say, well, do you know about this? Do you know that this exists in a stove? Do you know that you could get this? And because I asked them questions and they told me their story, we were able to engage. But I always wanted to know, what have you thought of or tried before you called me, talked with me, spoke with me, whatever it is? Because that is the key information, because that's where you are going to know what aspects of your product or your service you're going to talk about first. You're going to talk about those things that are the most important to them. And that's what probably someone else did not do. That other person probably went through their script, started at point A, went to point Z. And we all know that conversations have to go to point Z sometimes before we can continue the relationship with the person. We have to give them the bottom line and work backwards. And I don't mean the bottom line is the cost. The bottom line is, what is the situation? What is the thing about your service, your product, that is going to solve their situation? Now, I don't mean solve their pain. You know, there's a lot of people that love to deal with their pain and they just feel good living in their pain, but they always want to talk about it. I'm wanting you to be curious to find out, what is the bump over for them? What is the one thing that's going to get them over the fence to a potential yes? If not, at least they're clarified, they know what's going on, and they're going to move further. So there's 3 stages of curiosity. First, just what prompted you to connect is the simplest one, or any variation of that. The second one is tell me more, so that you get more of the stories. You know, you can't read the first page of a storybook to your child and keep their attention. So you're basically keeping them engaged with you while you glean information. And 3, you're going to ask what they've thought of or tried, so that you know you're not going to come back and get resistance to anything you say. So that's the value of curiosity, to build those organic relationships that you need to make your sales. Now, once you have that information, you ask permission and you go continue to engage with what you're going to do. But if you're still holding an agenda in your head that because I was curious, I should close today, that is not how that works. If you're especially selling large items or large services in which the prices need to be negotiated or need to be budgeted. So what I want everybody to take a look at is, how many times are you expecting an urgent sale and your curiosity gets put to the side because you're in urgency mode, or you get frustrated with yourself because you didn't make the sale the first time? That is not how it works. So if you want more engagement with me, because I'm an engagement connection specialist and I help you with your sales strategies, then it's probably time for you to subscribe to this channel and see what else you can learn from me, so that you can grow your sales skills and grow your sales audience